The bug type, regarded as one of the weakest type because it gets absolutely nothing, whether due to its lack of strong Pokemon with high stats or Pokemon with good typing. But how awful is the bug type really as a whole? How easily is it forgotten due to its stats, its type matchups? Does it even have any good moves? Its best moments, or if it was ever good at all? So let's take a closer look at Bug, the type abandoned by the numbers. Let's start by looking at the timeline of the Bug type, from where it started to where it currently is, in terms of strength and numbers. By strength, I mean base stat total. The Kanto region released a total of 12 Bug type Pokemon, which averages out to a base stat amount of 336, which is of course the lowest of all types released in the Kanto region. Not only that, but its battle properties were also slightly different. Bug is currently super effective against 3 types, gets resisted by 7, is able to resist 3, and also has 3 weaknesses. But back in Generation 1, the Steel, Dark, and Fairy typing didn't exist, and it held a weird interaction with the Poison type, where it dealt super effective damage against it while also having Poison being its weakness as well, which was really bad for Bug at the time since for one, it had the weakest base stat of all the types for Kanto, and second, Poison had the most amount of Pokemons released in the Kanto regions at 33. Continuing on, we got the Johto region, which released 10 Bug types, who on average were fairly decent in that generation, as it ranked 12th in overall base stat total, which is tied for its highest rank amongst all regions. But due to the law of equivalent exchange, for Bug to get even fairly decent stats, its battle properties worsened, swapping its super effective advantage of Poison to Dark, losing the Poison weakness, but causing 2 more types to have the capability to resist Bug attacks. Another fact about Bugs in the Johto region is that they on average had the 4th highest defense and special defense in this region, which shares the title of highest rank the Bug type ever received for any statistical categories, and it was able to reach these heights because these numbers were heavily inflated by Shuckle, the Pokemon with the highest defense and special defense in the entire series. Realistically, these are just fake stats. The following 2 regions of Hoenn and Sinnoh was nothing special. Realistically, they just dropped stinkers outside of Yanmega, He Valid, which then takes us to Unova, which is possibly the best region for the Bug type as a whole, as it released the most amount of Bug types in a singular region at 18, which on average had a base stat total of 417. This is tied for the highest average base stat the Bug type ever got amongst all regions. And let's not forget that the designs of these bugs were also peak, alongside being the first region to release a legendary and or mythical Pokemon that had the bug typing in Genesect. It also ranked as being the 12th best type in terms of base stat total for the Unova region. But you already know, Game Freak yet again wasn't going to let this slide. So in the following region of Kalos, it was a single worst release of not just the bug type itself, but out of any type ever. But let's look at Bug first. The properties of the type changed once again due to the introduction of Fairy, which now makes it tied with Grass for having the most amount of types capable of resisting its attack. Furthermore, only 3 Bug-type Pokemon were released, which was the Scatterbug evolution line. This created a record for least bugs released in a singular region, alongside 2 additional records of lowest ever average base stat for the Bug-type and lowest average base stat ever amongst all types, not counting Kanto Dark-type since there are no Dark-types from the Kanto region. Not only that, but the Bug-type ranked in last for HP, attack, special attack, and special defense amongst all types in Kalos, as well as second to last in defense, which collectively makes the Kalos Bug-type have the worst combined ranking of any type in any region of all time. And as you can see from the chart, the top 3 worst set of Pokemon released were all Bug-type, really just showing that their sole purpose is to be weak. Let's finally continue and complete this graph, because I've been here for a while. The Alola region released a total of 11 bug types, and was the region that had the highest concentration of their Pokédex numbers being affiliated with the bug typing. The bug from Alola also had an average base stat of 417, which is tied with Unova's record. This was mainly thanks to the introduction of Ultra Beast, which had Pheromosa and Buzzwole, able to lead bug types to a non-abysmal stat total. The final 2 regions are similar to Hoenn and Sinnoh, in which they mainly just drop stinkers. Not Slitherwing though, that's peak design, and overall allows the bug type to settle at an average base stat total of 375 as a whole. And now, when you look at the regression line, you can see that the average strength of bugs have increased through time, but the amount of bugs being released have decreased. Does this mean Game Freak are releasing bug-type Pokemon focused more on quality rather than quantity? I'll talk about quantity soon, but for now, let's look at quality. Bug and Kanto had a base stat of 336. Compared to all Pokemon in the current day, Bugs now have a base stat of 375. So an increase of about 39 base stat. Now let's compare this increase to the base stat of all Pokemon. In Kanto, the average Pokemon had a base stat of 408. In the current day, the average base stat amongst all Pokemon is 428, a 20-point increase, meaning the bug type on average benefited more than other types throughout the years. allowing it to have the 5th highest base stat increase amongst all types when looking at their initial average to current day average. When looking at percentage increase instead of total amount increase, it actually places 3rd amongst all types, with the average base stat of a bug type Pokemon increasing by 11% from their initial average. Now, whether bug type Pokemon are actually becoming stronger or their averages are increasing simply because they're the weakest type, thus making it the easiest type to increase. This is something I'll let you guys argue. Now let's look at frequency of the bug type and how they changed over the years as well. As mentioned in my dragon type video, the overall releases of Pokemon have decreased throughout time, which coincides with the decrease that bug types are seeing themselves. However, the decreased rate of Pokemon released is greater than the decreased rate of bug types being released, thus leading into more bug type Pokemon per Pokemon released. I'm not sure if you followed what I just said, so hopefully this makes things more clear. This chart shows that in Kanto, 8% of all Pokemon were associated with the bug type, with 12 of the original 151 Pokemon being bug. But now about 9% of all Pokédex entry Pokemon are affiliated with the type, with 92 out of 1025 Pokemon being bug. This rate is further decreased when accounting for the 55 regional variant Pokemon as well, to 8.5%, since for whatever reason, the bug type is the only type to not have a regional variant. Yet another example of Game Freak showing no love to the bug type. Let's move forward and compare the bug with other types instead of just itself. How does it compare? Well, obviously, as expected, the bug type comes out as having the lowest base stat average amongst all type. Every other type all passes the benchmark of 400 or higher base stat total, while bug is stuck at 375. Just know these are the average comprised of 1080 regular and regional form Pokemon. Alternate form and mega evolutions aren't factored into these averages. We'll take a look at those later in the video. Anyways, the bug type is so bad that Pokemon such as the following: Ariados, Charjabug, Beedrill, Butterfree, Beautifly, Yanma, Ledian, Dustox, Kricketune, and Swaddling are strong enough to benefit the type averages, while simultaneously being weak enough to the point where if they were any other type, they would be bringing those averages down. By the way, all these Pokemon are in the bottom 40% amongst all 1080 Pokemon when it comes to base stat total. This really puts into perspective how underwhelming this type really is. Now you might be asking, of course it does bad. It's being weighted down by all the lower staged Pokemon. And I also received comments on my Dragon type video suggesting I should have used just final stage evolution. Now let me clarify things. First, I'm here to look at the type as a whole. And second, these are the average base stat amongst types when only considering their fully evolved form. Dragon remains first with an even larger margin than before, and Bug is still the worst type on average with a base stat total of 466 when looking at just final stage Pokemon, although the gap between itself and normal has decreased. Furthermore, Bug is ranked in dead last on average HP for both all Pokemon and just final stage Pokemon, as you can witness in this graphic on the screen. Shedinja is solo carrying the bottom 2 ranked types. Alright, now that we know for certain that the bug type is the weakest in terms of strength, let's look at all 92 bug type Pokemon pitted against each other to really show how this type came to such a low average. Evidently, there is a large cluster of Pokemon in the middle or lower side of the graph compared to the top. Let's dissect it further by adding a cut at the 428 base stat mark. What's so important about this exact mark? This is the average base stat of all 1080 Pokemon. And with this, we see 36 bugs above this line and 56 below it. But that's an obvious disparity to see, since the average base stat of bug is under the average of all Pokemon at the 375 mark. But even at this level, we see 51 bugs above it and 41 below it, despite it being the average, where it should optimize to about 46 on both sides. The reason for this is due to the absolute dog water Pokemon that exist at the bottom that anchors the image of the type, even though it's already awful in the first place. If we look at bug type Pokemon with a base stat total below 210, we see a total of 11 Pokemon, which means the bug type has an absolute monopoly on this low range, with 58% of Pokemons at this level being affiliated with the bug type, with only 8 Pokemons existing that aren't bug types at this range. Let's finally progress along and stop talking about averages and base stat, since there are more to a type than just those two things. Let's look at typing and its characteristics. I already went through briefly on the properties of the bug typing, but I'll just state it again since now it's more important. The bug type has 3 weaknesses, 3 super effective advantages, 3 resistances, and 7 types that can resist it. Now, you don't have to be a pro to realize that this is bad. So the bug type has both bad stats and bad typing, but does it get saved with its dual typing? There are definitely types out there that can work together and help Bug do better in battle. But what are those types? In Wolfie's video about 153 type combination, the top 3 highest rated Bug combination were Bug Steel, that was obviously going to be in the top 3 due to Steel's immense defensive properties, Bug Water, and Bug Electric. So how often do Bugs get blessed with one of these typings? There are currently 42 dual type final stage bugs. Of those, 9 of them are one of these 3 combinations, which is slightly above the expected amount of 7.5 in a fully evenly split world. Which means the bug type does get paired up with good types, until you look at the other side and the bottom 3 types, which in Wolfie's video was bug ice, bug grass, and bug flying, which had a total of 13 appearances, which is almost 1/3 of all final stage dual type bug Pokemon, which really hinders the overall usage of the type due to the existence of Stealth Rock and the commonly used fire types. But its typing has gotten slightly better over the years, as previously before the release of the Alola region, so up to Generation 6, a total of 6 out of 29 dual type bugs were considered to have a good typing, which is about the same rate as today. However, 12 out of 29 had a bad typing, which is over 40% of all possible final stage dual type bugs just being stuck with bad typing. And by the way, the ice bug combination was a typing that didn't exist back then, so these 12 slots are taken up by only 2 combination of bug types. This really ruined the reputation of the type being seen as usable. However, in Generation 6, Megas were introduced, giving Pokemon the chance to become stronger. The bug type was blessed with 4 Megas, which is at least a decent amount, comprised of Mega Beedrill, Mega Pinsir, Mega Scizor, and Mega Heracross, all given new styles to play with. Beedrill is now a glass cannon with insane speed and attack, paired with the ability Adaptability. Heracross' massive attack stat was able to deal heavy damage with his new ability Skill Link. And Scizor with a slight stat boost paired up with the move Bullet Punch, which is boosted by both Stab and its ability Technician, and giving priority while Scizor could set up a Swords Dance, proved to be very lethal. Pinsir was still kind of trash though, not gonna lie. Nonetheless, even with the introduction of Megas, there was still one feat the bug type has never completed that all the other types have, which was contain a Pokemon, whether it be regular form, regional form, alternative, or even Mega, that had a base stat total above 600. Every single type outside of Bug has at least one instance of such a Pokemon, with Dragon having a whopping 26 Pokemon that went past the 600 mark. Bug itself only has 20 Pokemon that were able to hit at least 500, 11 of which were above 500. And I know, stats aren't everything, but this rule only implies if you as a type are good, which Bug isn't, so it's really dependent on stats. And even though Megas helped Bug get better, it also helped every other type as well. And if you were only given one choice to Mega Evolve, why would you choose one of the 4 Bug-type Mega Evolution Pokemon when you can easily choose one of these? Pokemons with much more stats, better typing, and better overall support for the team. But now look at this. This right here are the top 8 strongest bug types in terms of base stat total, with all 8 hitting the base stat mark of 550 or higher. Do you know what else all of these Pokemon have in common? All 8 of them are cursed with quadruple weakness, making it have a unique fact of being the only type to have its 5 strongest Pokemon in terms of base stat total all contain a quadruple weakness. Now, I'm just showing the top 5 of each type regardless of whether the Pokemons being displayed are monotype or dual type. But even if you looked at just dual type Pokemon, still no other type had the top 5 all contain quad weaknesses. Grass was the closest, with 4 of its top 5 dual types having a 4 times weakness, but we'll look further into the grass type when I make a video about it in the future, so make sure to subscribe. Anyways, do you want to see the roster of the top 6 bug type Pokemon in terms of base stat total that don't have a quadruple weakness? Then you would get this.
What is that?
Just a truly awful team. As mentioned earlier, 20 bugs have a base stat of 500 or higher. 14 of those 20 has a 4 times weakness, and these are the remaining 6. That means that 70% of the top 20 bugs can easily be crippled with 1 attack, which doesn't even make that much sense considering the bug type only has 3 weaknesses, and only 6 type exists with naturally less weaknesses than it. They shouldn't have this many flaws when it comes to defensive type combination, but they do, and there's nothing that can be done about it. And at this point, the only thing that the bug type can hope to achieve, since it's not given stats or type benefits, are powerful moves. But of course, it's not given those either. If we were to count the total amount of moves each type has with a base power of at least 100 of any kind, so Z move, Dynamax move, exclusive moves, or regular moves, we would see that in the entirety of Pokemon, Bug has the least of such moves, with only 1. And that sole Bug move is Mega Horn. A move that doesn't have 100 accuracy, has no additional effect, only single target, and makes contact. But the worst part about this move is its rarity. Currently, there are 34 final stage Pokemon that could even obtain such a move. Of these Pokemon, only 4 of them are even bug type, those being Ariados, Heracross, Escavalier, and Scolipede. And to make things worse, neither Scolipede or Escavalier are even accessible in the current Scarlet and Violet format. So Bug is only left with 2 Pokemons capable of learning this type's strongest move. And according to Pikalytics, as of November 25th, 2024, this is the day I'm collecting these stats. They might be changed from when this video is viewed, I don't know. In the OU format, Both Ariados and Heracross has a combined usage rate of 0.01%. So basically, Bug's strongest move is worthless. But let's look at a couple more moves that shares the Bug typing. U-Turn, Quiver Dance, and Sticky Web. U-Turn is a very good move that allows for mobility of your Pokemon while dealing guaranteed damage with the Bug type properties. Its flaw though is that it isn't really a Bug type move, and more so just a regular move that can be learned by a bunch of Pokemon that just happen to hold the type properties of the Bug typing. Similar to how Earthquake and Thunderbolt can be learned by many Pokemon. The only difference being that Bug types gain a stab bonus with the use of U-Turn. Now let's look at Quiver Dance, the strongest Bug type setup move. And unlike U-Turn and Mega Horn, it's actually designated towards Bug type Pokemon, with 80% of final stage Quiver Dance users inheriting the Bug type, and has the effect of boosting special attack, special defense, and speed, all by one stage. Yet despite all these gains, it's not seen much. The reason why this overpowered boosting move has infrequent usage is because most of these Pokemon capable of learning it are straight up dookie. Out of all the bugs that can learn it, only Pheromosa, Ribombee, and Volcarona has the sum of their special attack and speed together at a value of 200 or higher, allowing these three to be the only real Quiver Dance options if you're trying to build a Bug type special sweeper. However, Pheromosa isn't in the Scarlet and Violet game, thus meaning it can't learn Quiver Dance in the current generation either. Also, its physical attack is identical to its special attack, while it holds a better physical attacking move pool compared to special attack. So instead of Quiver Dance, some players opt to use physically built U-Turn Choice Band Pheromosa instead. This leaves us with only two current Quiver Dance users that are even possible option for battle, Ribombee and Volcarona. Stat wise, Ribombee is a much inferior to Volcarona, so the total overall boost it will gain from Quiver Dance wouldn't be nearly as valuable as Volcarona's Quiver Dance. And due to its high base speed stat and low HP, it can be used in other ways such as a Choice Specs user or as a support Pokemon with Sticky Web, but more on that soon. So basically, the only Pokemon to have any real effectiveness with the move Quiver Dance is Volcarona, who does have a quadruple weakness to the rock typing, otherwise known as Stealth Rock, so it must be wearing heavy duty boots at all times. Now let's look at Bug's final so-called good move, Sticky Web. This move is an entry hazard that lowers the opponent's Pokemon speed on switching. Only 12 final stage Pokemon have the potential to learn it, with all but one of them being the Bug type. Despite not providing any damage or benefits to your own Pokemon, the value of almost always getting speed advantage, excluding for priority moves, can put your team at a huge advantage in battle if the aforementioned Sticky Webs isn't dealt with by either Defog or Rapid Spin, possibly the strongest Bug type move. How fitting that it's about being a pest. Finally, let's combine all factors of Bug stats, typing, and moves together and see how a Bug type performs in a competitive aspect. I will be looking at 3 tier, Ubers, OU, and Regulation Set H Showdown. We'll start with Ubers. This tier is set for Pokemon who are quite difficult to defeat with normal circumstances in relation to the OU metagame. In this tier, there are currently only 2 active playable Bug-type Pokemon, according to Smogon and Pokemon Showdown. Those 2 being Volcarona, of course, with it being the Pokemon that benefits the most off the move Quiver Dance, and Arceus Bug-type, which doesn't really count as a bug, so it's only Volcarona in this tier. If we look at previous generation, the only other Bug-type to ever reach Ubers were Pheromosa and Genesect in Generation 8. Only not currently in Ubers because they don't exist in Generation 9. But we're able to reach these tier due to their raw stats and abilities. Yet according to Pikalytic, only 2 bug types has a usage rate above 1% in the Uber tier, and none of them are Volcarona, who only had a usage rate of 0.27%. These 2 Pokemon are Ribombee with an average usage rate of above 15% and Spidops. What makes them have usage in the Uber tier? The sole reason is the move Sticky Web. Almost all Ribombee user has the Sticky Web set, while Spidops has a 100% Sticky Web set, purely used as a Pokemon to set hazards. And the only reason Ribombee isn't also 100% is simply because there could be the off chance someone decides to run the Quiver Dance set instead, and focus purely on offense. But all in all, showing that the only thing the bug type brings to the table in the Uber metagame is simply one move that must require a bug Pokemon. Now let's look at OU. 5 Pokemon have an above 1% usage rate, with Araquanid leading the bunch with 3.5% due to the move Sticky Web as well. In this tier, the overall strength of Pokemon are relatively lower, so Sticky Web, although still important, isn't as impactful as seen with Ribombee usage in Ubers. Also, since the Pokemon in this tier aren't as strong, it would allow for other bug Pokemon to have a chance to compete, such as Scizor, Slitherwing, and Lockix. Although yes, instead of Sticky Web, all 3 have a somewhat high reliance to a stab U-turn. Finally, let's look at the current VGC Regulation H meta, which is heavily reliant right now on offense. so hazards such as Sticky Web isn't really prevalent. The only 2 Pokemon that were able to meet a usage rate above 1% were of course the usual Quiver Dance Volcarona, wielding fire type attacks, and powder spamming Vivillon with compound eyes. And then if we look at above 0.5%, Yanmega and Ribombee also enter the scene with their Tailwind set. So basically bug type Pokemon are only ever used in competitive when accounting for support and not as an offensive threat outside of just Volcarona. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that bugs should be given stronger Pokemon to match closer in terms of strength of other types? Perhaps a Bug Dragon will finally be released to break through the 600 base stat mark. Should a Game Freak stop releasing bug type of erroneous typing such as Bug Flying that would help benefit it in battle? And should Bug be given a new move that is extremely powerful and is mainly exclusive for Pokemon of the bug types? Will all of these things even help the bug type in both popularity and competitive play? Or will Bug stay as a type abandoned by the numbers? Alright guys, I got some few announcements to make before I end this video. I don't know how good the mic is going to sound, but that's not the point. So first things first, shout out to my artist, Mr. Renegade. Thanks to him, the channel finally has a logo, and yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. These are some of his other work, so if you want to support him or ask him to commission something, these are his handles, and I'll put them in the description of the video as well. And yeah, just make sure to tell him LeBron's the GOAT because he's a huge LeBron fan. And the second thing is, expect more videos like these in 2025. Longer and more in-depth analysis about Pokemon stuff. Although the next video for this series will be the Steel type. But if you want to see me do a certain type, just comment it, and whatever the top comment is for this video, I'll probably do that following the Steel type video. And yeah, just expect a video every 2 to 6 weeks. I don't know, it just all depends on how I'm feeling and what video I'm making, I guess. And the final thing is live streams. I've been slacking on those simply because I don't really have a game I really want to play or stream, and also because my OBS broke, and I'm not really trying to fix all that. But just know, when Legends ZA drops in 2025, I will definitely be playing it, so I guess until then, don't expect there to be any planned streams. And yeah, that's about it.